Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely flip the script on what it actually means to have a head start in life. We usually think of privilege as hefty bank accounts, inheritances, and just general material comfort, right? But what if the complete absence of those things is exactly what creates a highly advanced type of intelligence? Let's explore the fascinating science behind the adversity advantage.
Okay, let's dive right in by contrasting a widely held belief with a really surprising scientific reality. We almost always assume that wealth equals readiness, that material abundance just automatically sets you up for a successful, well-adjusted life. But the scientific reality points in a completely different direction. It turns out a background of scarcity actually builds a critical form of emotional intelligence that money literally cannot buy.
And that brings us to the core paradox of our explainer today. Think about this for a second. How is it possible that growing up without financial privilege, maybe even facing some serious hardships along the way, actually makes you better at reading other human beings? I know, it feels completely counterintuitive. But as you'll see, the human brain is just an absolute adaptation machine.
Part 1, the Science of Scarcity. Let's look at the hard data to see exactly how this works. So, Professor Dasher Keltner and his team over at UC Berkeley tackled this exact question. They looked at individuals from all sorts of socioeconomic backgrounds to see how they process social situations. And what they found? Well, it completely disrupted the traditional narrative. Their research revealed that people from higher social classes, so those with more wealth, are actually, on average, less adept at understanding the emotions of the people around them. I mean, it sounds totally backward, right?
But here's what's really fascinating. When a lack of financial capital is present, the brain is forced to compensate. It literally develops a brand new superpower to navigate the world: psychological capital, or deep empathy. Because material resources are scarce, profound empathy takes root. It's no longer just a nice personality trait. It becomes a vital survival skill. The researchers found that kids who grow up without a financial safety net become highly, almost remarkably, sensitive to nonverbal cues. They learn to read a room in an instant. They can detect a subtle flash of sadness in someone's eyes, read creeping anxiety just by watching shifting eyebrow movements, and sense these microscopic shifts in someone's happiness. They learn to communicate and understand without words simply because they have to. Section 2. Survival breeds social intelligence. So why exactly does the brain adapt this way? This perfectly illustrates the survival mechanism at play. It all starts with a lack of resources. Because of that, you have an absolute inability to just buy your way out of a problem. You can't just throw money at a broken car, a medical issue, or a dispute, right? Therefore, you are forced to rely on your community. And that reliance directly forces the rapid development of social intelligence. When you need others to survive, you absolutely must know how to connect with them.
Sometimes people will observe these kids carefully watching others and mistake it for shyness, or maybe a lack of confidence. But the science says it's exactly the opposite. It's an advanced, high-level skill used to forge strong alliances in a really complex world. Think about it. The ability to read emotions is the absolute key to gaining help and building strong alliances when you can't use money or force. Winning hearts and minds becomes your primary currency.
Section 3, Empathy in Modern Leadership. Let's see how this builds into adulthood and translates directly to the modern boardroom. The business landscape has changed dramatically. The traditional old leader relied heavily on issuing commands, exerting sheer power, and staring at dry numbers on a spreadsheet. But the modern leader is fundamentally different. Today's most effective leaders are those who inspire, who can accurately read the people they manage, and who focus on building trust for the common good. And guess who naturally possesses these highly sought-after skills? Yep, the very people whose early adversity forced them to hone their social intelligence. In the demanding world of modern business, these individuals bring another massive asset to the table: a tremendously high adversity quotient, or AQ. Because they were conditioned from childhood to solve high-pressure problems in constrained environments, they just don't panic when a crisis hits. They have this ingrained resilience. They're totally accustomed to navigating tight spots without ever throwing in the towel. When you put this all together, you get a really remarkable formula. The combination of high emotional intelligence, that ability to deeply connect with a team, and an ironclad resilience, or a strong heart, makes these individuals wildly effective at actually managing human beings. They don't just manage the bottom line, they manage the people who create the bottom line. It's a leadership advantage that no elite MBA program can just automatically bestow. Section 4, Rethinking How We Parent. So, what should you take away from this if you are raising the next generation? Well, if you're a parent fortunate enough to have wealth and resources, the researchers offer a stark, very important warning. Beware of creating an emotional vacuum. Look, it's incredibly tempting to use your wealth to bubble wrap your kids, protecting them from every little inconvenience. But by making their lives perfectly comfortable, you might accidentally be cutting off the very friction required to build their empathy and resilience. To counter this, you've got to be deliberate. You must intentionally expose your children to the realities of the world outside their comfortable bubble. Teach them the genuine value of sharing, and actively involve them in helping society. The goal here is to ensure their material wealth doesn't become a brick wall that blocks their ability to empathize with their fellow humans. On the flip side, if you're a parent who is currently stressed or worrying about your financial limitations, maybe worrying you aren't giving your kids enough, please hear this. You are actually giving your child a powerful, invisible gift. This early scarcity you're navigating, it's acting as the exact catalyst your child needs to build crucial life skills. Because they aren't distracted by just an abundance of things, they're learning how to observe others deeply. They're learning to listen actively. They are learning to truly value human kindness, and they're mastering complex social dynamics that will serve them for the rest of their lives. Ultimately, equipping a child to genuinely understand people, to win hearts and navigate society, is the absolute smartest investment you can make for true success. It's an investment that pays huge dividends, not just in their future job title or bank account, but in the strength of their character. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder as we wrap up. We spend so much of our lives, our energy, and our stress trying to accumulate and leave our children wealth. But in doing so, are we accidentally impoverishing their hearts? True readiness for life might not come from having everything, but from learning how to connect when you have absolutely nothing. Thank you so much for diving into the science of scarcity with me on this explainer.